Hey, everybody, welcome to the big party. It's a lunar eclipse tonight. It is the harvest moon for September, and we are going to be tracking along with a stream from timeanddate.com who has generously decided to share with us. And we're going to be having some special guests to talk about what you'll see tonight, when you'll see it, how to see it best, that kind of thing. And over here, this is our first special guest. This is Commander Worf, Lieutenant Commander Worf from the Enterprise, and he will be providing security this evening. This is before his promotion. So if anybody out there is upset about him being a lieutenant, it's not my fault. And we're going to have Marcy Curran, who is the voice of the night sky here at earthsky.org. And we'll also be welcoming in Kelly Kaiser Witt, who is another of our editors at EarthSky, and she'll be talking about all the fun stuff that you can do with a lunar eclipse and so forth. And finally, we're going to have John Goss back. John is also one of our members of the team here at EarthSky, but he's also a former president of the Astronomical League and a top-notch lunar and observer of all kinds. So anyway, he will be joining us tonight. And Marcy, hi, how you doing?
I'm good, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing real well. We've got our moon up here for people. This is about what you're going to see tonight. Why don't you tell us what we're looking at on this image?
All right. Of course, we have a partial lunar eclipse going on tonight. And of course, that's why we're here. It's actually kind of a triple treat tonight. We've got the partial lunar eclipse. This is, of course, the harvest moon. And it's also a supermoon. So you can't ask for something, a better combination than that, right?
It is. It's a triple threat. It's the most threatening moon you're likely to come across. Well, not threatening. It's the best. It's the most fun moon you're ever. There's nothing threatening about the moon. No lunacy involved. So
no, it's a triple treat.
It is. It's a treat. It's not a threat. It's a triple treat, just in time for the spooky season, which is coming up on us.
Right. So first, maybe I'd like to just kind of briefly go over why we have lunar eclipses. Of course, right now, the sun and earth and moon are lined up in space, and the shadow of the earth, slide 2 would be perfect.
Slide 2.
The shadow of the earth is then starting to cross over the moon. There's two shadows. There's the penumbral shadow, which is the lighter shadow, which we have going on right now. And it depends on your vision acuity, how clear your atmosphere is, how observant you are. And it's going to just start looking like there's kind of a dark cloud, a gray cloud going over the moon.
Right.
When I've watched the penumbral portion of a lunar eclipse, I usually can see it around a fourth or a third when it's already covering the moon. And it will continue to advance across the moon. And then when it gets into the darker shadow, the umbral shadow, is when we go into the partial lunar eclipse. And tonight's partial eclipse will only encroach about 8% into the moon. A lot of times they say eclipses show a bite out of, the moon or the sun. This is going to be more of a nibble.
Yeah,
but it's still going to. Yeah, it's still going to be pretty obvious. And the partial eclipse will last roughly over an hour. So that's what everyone can expect to see. And then if you could go to slide 3. This is showing you the portions of the globe that we'll be able to see all or at least part of the eclipse. I know here in Wyoming, it was already going to be in penumbral eclipse starting before it even rose up tonight. So, but everywhere in the center part there, you'll see the entire eclipse tonight.
And if you've never seen one of these charts before, the right hand is sunrise, and you can see it coming across the Arabian Peninsula there. And then on the left-hand side is sunset, and you can see it. Its sun is setting right now up in Alaska, it looks to be. So that's what you're looking at, and everything in the middle, the moon will be visible during the eclipse period. Right, Mars?
Correct. That's correct. Basically, if you can see the moon right now, you can see the eclipse.
Right.
And all of these locations can see it. And as I mentioned before, this is also a harvest moon. Harvest moons probably are some of the most popular full moons just because I think they get a lot of publicity. But one of the cool things about a harvest moon is because of in the northern hemisphere, our ecliptic is now kind of like at a really shallow angle to the horizon instead of steep. It's more shallow. And so consequently, the moon that usually rises roughly 50 minutes later each day is rising anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes later each day, which means you'll have a bright moon a couple of nights in a row.
Right.
Within 20 or 30 minutes of each other. And of course, it's dubbed kind of the harvest moon because before, modern technology and you could have, headlights on and lights on equipment out there to help people get their harvest done. That, of course, just added more daylight or more light to the day for people trying to get their crops harvested. So that is kind of an interesting,
It is.
side story to the harvest moon. And of course, a lot of times it looks kind of bright orange, which always makes it really pretty and everyone notices it. And of course, it's a supermoon, so it's a super harvest moon.
It is.
And supermoons, of course, are very popular. Everybody like wants to see the supermoon. They
What
don't
is
necessarily look bigger to the eye, but they do look brighter. Basically, they're about 8% larger compared to an average distance moon, but they are roughly 16% brighter than an average moon, or 30% brighter than the most distant moon.
Well,
So they do
why
definitely.
are they a supermoon? Tell us what makes this a supermoon.
Okay, good question. Supermoons are the average distance to the moon is 238,900 miles. And any moon that is within 90% closer than that is considered a supermoon.
Okay,
And
and
so we actually,
that's what makes
right,
it seem brighter and larger because it's actually closer.
right. It is actually closer. And we actually have 4 in a row. This is the second of the 4. And next month will be the closest of the 4. It'll be a harvest moon on October 17th.
No, that will be the hunter's moon. This isn't a harvest. And then when the
you're
fields
right.
clear, you can go out and trample through the stubble fields. And you were talking about the color of the harvest and the hunter's moon. They're often more orange than your normal moon. And that's because the fields are burning. Because I live here in the San Joaquin Valley and we do a lot of agriculture here. And so this is the season when we're shaking the walnut trees, when we're plowing down the cotton fields. And so there's a lot of extra atmospheric pollution that will give you that beautiful moonrise color. Now, I wanted to ask you, Marcy, because the plane of the ecliptic is at such an acute angle to the observing horizon, does that mean that the moon takes longer to rise? Is it closer to the horizon for a longer period?
Actually, it's shorter, and that's why it seems to come up sooner because it's more skimming along that ecliptic.
Right. It's just really coming up.
Right. And that's why and again, it depends on your location on the globe, but it's roughly 20 to 30 minutes later each next day. And usually it's 50 minutes. So that's quite a bit of difference. It's almost at least cut in half. So that's why you'll see it skimming that horizon earlier than normal for a full moon.
And faster. Okay. So what time are we going to see that bite taken out? When is that going to happen for us?
The maximum, I believe, is at 9:44 Central Time.
9:44 Central Time.
So that's the middle of it.
So about an hour from now is when we'll be in the middle. That's when you're going to see what's on the screen. The image that appears on the screen should resemble what you see in the sky. Pretty close. It'll be pretty close.
I believe the partial starts at roughly 9:12 Central Time, 9:13 Central Time.
So that's coming right up. The partial starts in about 20 minutes or so. So,
correct.
Okay. And what else is going on up in the sky? The moon isn't up there alone. It's going to go visiting. It always goes visiting every month.
Right. So if you would go to the next slide, as I mentioned, this is a triple treat, but it's always fun to kind of add a little sprinkles, right? Or something really extra special. And our ringed planet Saturn is also nearby the super harvest moon. And so you will see a steady kind of golden, creamy light shining near the moon tonight. And that is the planet Saturn. So if you do have a telescope out enjoying the eclipse, be sure and point your telescope over there and check out those rings of Saturn. Binoculars will show Saturn kind of as an oval. So,
you have to have a very steady hand.
You do. But of course, Saturn is always a really popular target in binoculars and telescopes. So it's kind of special that we've got Saturn out there near the super harvest moon and the eclipse.
This is really a treat tonight, folks. If you haven't gone outside to take a look, do it. Do yourself a big favor and go and appreciate the beauty of, be a naturalist of the night, because that's what you become when you're an amateur astronomer. You're a naturalist. You're out there examining the world as it happens. But there was one thing I wanted to contradict it. You said, Marcy, I can't see the moon right now. I can't see. It's not up in California. It's still below the horizon. We're just coming on to sunset now. So technically, right. Which is the best kind of right. I'm technically right, but you're right.
You should be able to see some of that penumbral eclipse then when it rises. We have cloudy sky here, so I probably can't see anything out here.
When it gets up high enough, I'll be able to see it, but I'm nestled up against the foot of the Sierra Nevada mountains, and they rise to about 14,000 feet here, being the highest point in the lower 48 contiguous states. So it comes up a little later for me. It has to clear that hurdle. But that makes for interesting effects, because one time I was out watching the moonrise coming up over the mountain. I thought, that was beautiful. I want to see that again. So I turned on the car and I drove down the road about a mile and watched the whole thing do its thing again. It was wonderful. Nice. 2 moonrises. I could have probably done 2 more.
Good idea.
Yeah, that was fun. Well, we're full of good ideas. I hope that when John gets here, he'll share some of his good ideas. But you know what? It's worth sharing them now. And he gave us 3 good ideas last time. And there's a great video that we'll probably end up linking somewhere around here about these tips. So if you miss them while I'm talking about them, go visit our channel. You should like this video, by the way. You should subscribe to our channel. It's a great channel. And anyway, so there are different things you can do. John took a bottle cap. This is not, and he drilled a hole. And do you remember what the size was? I want to say it was very small. She drilled a small hole. It was
like 1/16 of a millimeter or something really.
Oh, tiny. It wasn't quite that small, but it was, it was
it's really small.
You could experiment. It was a very small hole, right. And the idea is you hold that cap up in front of your eye, and it will reduce the glare. You're going to get a lot of glare when you're looking at a full moon. Those things are very bright, especially if you're dark adapted. So you make a little pinhole. You can do it with your eye too. It's not as steady, and it certainly won't be as good looking as walking around with this in your face. But that's one way that you can get a much better view of the moon. And then I hope I'm not ruining his show. If you want to take a look at the huge moon on the horizon illusion, because it is an illusion, the moon does not get smaller as it rises. You can have a look at it through a drinking straw, and you'll be able to see the entire moon through that drinking straw when you hold it up to your eye. And then later on in the evening, when it's much higher up, take another look. It will not have changed size, and your little gauge, your drinking straw gauge, will let you confirm for yourself with your very own eyes the moon does not change size. I can't help you with the green cheese problem. That one's up to you. And the other thing that John had going the other day, I have a prop, is when you're going to go out and watch the moon with your binoculars, you put on your sunglasses first. And you will cut down enough glare that you will get some really good looks at the moon's seas, the Maria. And so those are some really good tips. You got anything to add to that, Marcy?
Well, the sunglass trick is absolutely brilliant, because using like a polarizing filter really helps reduce the contrast enough that you can see a lot more detail. So that's an absolutely brilliant idea. And another thing you can do with binoculars or a telescope is kind of wave your fingers over the end of what your binoculars or your telescope tube, because that'll help cut some of that bright light, because it's so bright, it's just blinding almost.
It will. Just naked eye will. I'm sorry, with the unaided eye, it will appear dazzlingly bright. It will ruin your vision. Well, not ruin your vision, but you won't see anything but the moon and a big circle in the center of your vision for the rest of the night. So these are good tips. What else can you tell us about this month's moon, Mars?
Well, honestly, it's going to look full both. It looked pretty full last night. It's going to look full again tomorrow night. I know there was a big aurora show going on last night, and a lot of people commented about like, well, in spite of the really bright moon, I was still able to see the aurora because it was incredibly bright. We had clouds here last night, and I swear it looked like daylight almost out here. So
I guess that's why you can go out and do your harvest in this kind of lighting conditions. It really is worth it.
I can work into the night.
Work into the night. Okay. Well, you and I we're used to that. We're up late nights a lot of times anyway to look at things going on in the sky, and we encourage you guys to come out and join us because there's nothing finer than a peaceful night under a starry sky. I got to tell you, nothing better in the world.
Always fun. Always fun.
It is. There's always something going on out there. Okay. One more thing, Marcy. Okay, so we're visiting Saturn tonight. Are we visiting any other planets in the upcoming days? We should be, I think.
The next planets that the moon will be visiting is going to be in the morning sky.
Okay.
And it's going to be near the Pleiades star cluster on the 22nd. And then it's going to be near Jupiter on like the 23rd and 24th. And then it's going to move a few days later to be near Mars.
Okay, so if you didn't catch all that, folks, subscribe. Marcy will be back to explain this all in much greater detail at the appropriate time. So you don't even have to remember it. Marcy has you covered. She is the voice of the night sky.
We have quite a few shorts out on our YouTube page that goes through each of our charts when the moon is visiting a bright star planet. So hopefully you can enjoy some of those.
Yeah. Okay, anything else you'd like to tell us about before you make your graceful exit like a waning moon?
Well, I hope everybody gets to enjoy this triple treat tonight because, it's pretty cool to be seeing a lunar eclipse on the super harvest moon.
Yes, and while it visits Saturn. So this is a triple treat, folks. Get out there and enjoy. Get out there and like it. Oh, wait, right down there. Anyway, we'll see you soon, Marcy.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay. Oh, Marcy, why aren't you going away? There she went. It takes a second, I guess. Okay, so why don't we see what we've got going on over here? Oh, we're going to get an ad is what we're going to get. I'm jumping over, folks. I am jumping over to the live stream that time and date is graciously allowing us to share. And we're going to get rid of the chat because we don't want that. Oh, and it looks like they're talking. So why don't we listen into what they've got to say for a minute? Let me see if I can get that going for us.
We can really see on our main image there from the time and date mobile observatory that yes, that top half of the moon really is getting very dark now, and we're all set for the partial phase of this eclipse. Remember, at maximum, only 3.5% of the moon's disk will be covered by the very darkest part of the moon's shadow. But as we can already see, it's already a really wonderful sight.
And then we've got half an hour of the dark shadow moving in and then back out again.
while we do that, why don't I add Kelly Kaiser Witt? Hi, Kelly. I'm going to bring you in now. Here we come. Give it a second. Here you come. I think. Ah, there she is. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, how are you?
We're doing well. I'm doing well. Marcy's doing well. The moon is up. The moon's out. It's finally getting dark here.
I was just taking a peek
How you
out there
doing?
myself,
How's everything going on your end?
yeah, I can see a little bit of the darkening, but boy, it's really, really subtle. I mean, if you didn't know there was an eclipse going on, I think you wouldn't have any clue. You would look up and think it's just the regular moon.
Yeah, I suspect that's probably true. You know, I've noticed that in previous eclipses, the penumbral shadow just isn't very noticeable. It's not very dark, but you
Yeah.
know, it might be more so. I think Marcy was saying it might be more so since we're at a supermoon, and that would be, if you're hearing that in the background, that would be Mike, the neighbor's dog, having a go at the universe.
Not a problem. Yeah, it'll get better. We
Mike's
still have, what, 10 minutes until we get into the actual partial phase. But right now it's still very subtle. Yes.
It is. It is. They have a great camera there, and you can really see at the time and date stream more than you normally would if you go out. And I'm sure you can confirm that for us, having been out there.
It is actually, their stream is amazing. Like, you can actually see the penumbral part of the eclipse. The moon is, like Marcy was saying, holy cow, it's bright. I was out last night for the Northern Lights as well, and it was like daytime. I didn't have to worry about tripping over the sidewalk. In fact, I took a photo of myself, of my shadow, because I was casting such a deep shadow just from the light of the moon. So yes, this is a very bright, the supermoon feels very bright. So even with the partly eclipsed right now, it's still really bright out there.
It sure is. Now, looking here at the time and date stream, I see we have a large orangish red blob up there in the upper right hand corner that appears to be labeled Jupiter. So I think we have the king of the planets tonight with us. Sure looks that way. Is that what that is? It says Jupiter.
It does say Jupiter. So yeah, it looks pretty good. And I had to make an effort to see Saturn out there again, because the moon is so bright. Like, I knew that if I look at the moon and then look a little to the right, it's kind of a yellowy dot, and that's Saturn. But again, like, the moon is just stealing the show tonight. It just draws your eye. So if I didn't like mentally say, oh, you got to look at Saturn, and otherwise, again, I wouldn't have even noticed that. But as long as you're here and you're listening to us, like, now you know. You can look at the moon. You can also look for Saturn, and you can take. So I don't know if you do, just even these little hiking binoculars, or if you have bigger binoculars, these are better. But if you just want to try to get
matters when it comes to binocs.
There you go. Yeah, if you just want to get like a better look at what's going on up on the moon, or you have the time now, you can take a look at some of the craters. In fact, the other week we had a live stream with Robert Reeves. He has a new book out. I have it right here.
Oh, awesome. Let's see it.
And it's really lovely. It's like a great coffee table book because it's got really nice photos inside. So we're here out tonight. If you decide, boy, I really like looking at the moon. I've been looking through this book, and it really, if you want to learn more about the moon, and if you want to find different sections of the moon to study, and you'll see the giant crater, like, what is that? You can look that up, because this is a really cool book. Plus, it also talks about lunar eclipses.
And it's got a lunar atlas for you. Lunar atlases are wonderful things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super nice.
So last night you went out to look at the aurorae, and the moon was almost too bright. It was almost washing them out. What did you do about that? How can you take care of that if you've got too bright a moon for something? What's the trick?
Well, for starters, I live in Wisconsin, so I am farther north than a lot of people in, say, the U.S. So if I see there's this thing called the KP, and depending on what number is afterward, like a 4 is when they start alerting you. Like some people, like in Canada, more like for 4, could see that. So when it says 5, then I start to pay attention, or I'll go outside. It was KP5. So I went out last night and I saw that, and I looked. Like I saw nothing, because all I saw was like this glow, and the moon was lighting up the clouds that were on the other side, up in the north. And it was just some clouds. It wasn't full. The sky wasn't full of clouds. So I went back in, and then just like 5 minutes later, all of a sudden it jumped to 7. I'm like, ooh, that's good. I'll go out and look again. And I went out and looked, and I still couldn't see it. And so I gave up. I went to bed. I got in bed, and you know, you're not supposed to use your screens before you go to bed, but I always play Sudoku, and up on my screen pops KP8. And I already had my contacts out, so I'm like, okay. I'm in my pajamas, I get my glasses on, I go up, and it was just beautiful. It was 10 minutes of gorgeous, and I kind of hid in the shadow of my house to kind of block some of that light so I could see the sky better. But yeah, and your camera or your cell phone, man, that really, it picks up the light even better. I could see green and red, but my phone, like, you put it up and it was almost like having just this automatic filter to just pop those colors. It was a great night last night, even though it only lasted about 10 minutes.
Yeah, the only auroras I've ever seen down here, and I'm in Central California, which is pretty far south, was we had an X31 class flare 20 years ago, I think it was. And we got them down here. And then we had them last, what was that, 2 months ago, 3 months, very recently, and I missed them. I thought I should get back down. I was wrong. But that's an excellent tip. So if you are out looking for something like a planet that has a much lower magnitude, a much lower brightness than the moon, you can hide. You can hide the moon behind a building or a tree or something like that. It'll block out the light. Give yourself a second for your eyes to adjust, and then you might get a view of it. And if that doesn't work, we have a trick in astronomy we call averted vision, where we don't look directly at the thing. If I want to see something that's over here, I look over there, because the periphery of the eye has more light detection ability. And so when you're seeing things from the side, you see deeper into that spectrum. So that's a trick you can use. If you don't, is it there? Let me glance away. You just glance to the side 10 or 15 degrees, which, by the way, your fist held out at arm's length, and this works for everybody, is roughly 5 degrees of the night sky. So anyway, how's our timing? Are we into the partial now?
We're getting close. Yeah. Maybe we'll see some change there in the live stream, and they might come back on too.
I've been waiting for them.
We might want to give them a couple minutes if they do.
Sure. And then I see we have.
I was going to throw a couple.
Please, what do you want to do?
I was gonna. I have a couple dates. Just because. So this is a special supermoon that's happening with an eclipse. The next time that happens is not until October 8th, 2033. So that's a long time away. So take advantage of this one. The next supermoon is already next month, so that's pretty cool. And it's exactly a month from today. It's October 17th. That's the Hunter's moon. And the next total lunar eclipse, so that's going to be like the whole kit and caboodle when the moon goes all the way into Earth's darkest part of the shadow. That is March 13th to the 14th of this coming year, so like half a year away. And that will also hit this pretty much a lot of the same parts that's seeing it now, so like North and South America.
Right. So
mark your calendars for all of those.
No kidding. Yes. But again, you don't have to remember any of this, folks. You go down here and you hit the subscribe button, and you're in. That's it. You're subscribed to EarthSky. The videos come to you. The information finds you. You don't have to find it. We do that. That's what we're here for. We're here for you. We're here to provide you these wonderful things. I can't keep a straight face, but we really are. We really are here for you. We really do have everything going on in the night sky that's worth seeing. Well, not everything, but you get the idea. There's always something fresh. There's always something new to see. Every night is another masterpiece up in the heavens. Go out and take a look. So what else we got going on, Kelly? Anything else we need to talk about, you and I? We are getting into our virtual.
Yeah. Well, I kind of feel like I want to go take a look at the moon myself in person. I can carry you with me as I do that.
Let's go. We're going outside, folks.
All right.
It's a field trip, kids.
We're going outside.
I hope you got your permission slips in your lunch, because we're going out.
Hope the owls don't get me.
Those Wisconsin Bears. Got to watch out for the Wisconsin Bears.
That's right. All right, now at this point, I would say that my view almost matches the view of time and date. Of course, I'm zooming in is not really practical. No. But yeah, now maybe if you're looking at the moon, you can see that it's distinctly darker up at that upper left-hand corner. I don't see any orange.
No, I don't.
So I'm not seeing any color. I'm just seeing the darkness. But yeah, that's another thing is during eclipses, lunar eclipses, sometimes you get like the orange, they call them the blood moon. Mm-hmm. This one's not very bloody. But you can get all sorts of colors. You can even get like purplish colors because you have, it could be light pollution, it could be wildfire smoke, it could be volcanic ash. So yeah, this one is pretty much just dark though, not very colorful, at least from my location. It could be totally different. Like when you're in California, yours might look different than mine.
I think it probably will. We've had a major fire. The coffee pot fire has been going on here. I haven't checked the list yet. We have a list, and there's always, you know, it's California and it's wildfire time of the year, even though we don't even have a season. It's just all year long. Anyway, we do have some going right now, and every morning, last 3-4 days, when I wake up, it smells like I'm at the campsite. It smells like I'm at a campfire because, you know, Sequoia National Forest is burning down right now. It does it all the time. Don't worry about it. It's a natural part of the process of the forest. You know, they're
it is. You gotta release those
it's not
seeds,
contained,
right?
but exactly. Yeah. What you know what that's how our giant redwoods propagate, is that they burn, and those enormous trees come from cones that are about this big, and the seeds are minuscule things, but they will not open until they've been burnt. They have to be heated. I don't know how that works, but it's nature's way, and so we have to cooperate. Okay, we're really seeing a big bite out of the moon now. That is a great image.
It's looking good. In fact, I think it would be a good time to bring on John to talk about why our moon is round and how the eclipse helps
that's a great idea. That. So you want to stick around for that, or is this goodbye?
I'll go off. You can call me back on later if you need me after John's done, but all right, I'll let him have the glory.
He does deserve the glory and the fortune. Let's get him in here. Stand by, John. You're coming in now. Bye, Kelly. Thanks. Okay, there's John. Showing John. Okay, what are you doing? Thank you, AdBlock, for telling me that you've been updated. That was so important for me to know right now. And we don't want that. No, don't want that. And come on, show John. There we go. All right.
Excellent.
John, there you are. Excellent. So, folks, this is John Goss, and he is one of our wonderful staff members. He joins us and works at EarthSky, but he, more importantly for our purposes tonight, is a master observer and former president of the Astronomical League, which is a nationwide observing organization. And John is here to tell us how you can use this event to prove that our planet is in fact round. But John, I see that the commenters for time and date are back, so why don't we switch over to them for just a second and hear what they've got to say.
Alrighty, let's do that.
Yeah.
The moon now, and you say, oh, it's only tiny, but it looks so good, and it looks so different from like a moon phase. So we've got Santa Fe in the US here in the middle, courtesy of John Williams there. He got rid of the clouds for us. We love him for that. We've got up there in the right-hand corner, we've got Stavanger, Norway, dark shadow eating away there. And also Darlington in the UK, dark shadow eating from pretty much the same place. So why is it? Why are the views looking different, Graham?
Right, we have seen some very different views of the moon over the course of the live stream so far. Now, sometimes these differences are caused by differences in local conditions. That's, of course, really what we saw with Dubai. So if it's a different time of night, the moon can be at a different height above the horizon. That all makes a difference to how the moon appears. Not only that, of course, all of our collaborators and partners are in different places using different equipment. So different telescopes, different cameras, and they all give slightly different colors and tints and exposures to the moon.
Sharpness, softness as well, right?
Exactly. Right. Now, the other thing that telescopes can do is that they can sometimes flip images, either sort of left to right or top to bottom. So sometimes that's what gives us different views of an eclipse. But in this case here, all of the images of the moon we're seeing are all the images as people are seeing in the sky. None of these images are flipped around. But we can see that it doesn't look like exactly the same eclipse, because there in Santa Fe, in our main image, the bite in the moon is really on the top left side, whereas in Norway and the UK, the bite in the moon is on the top right side. And this is one more difference that we get in the view of the moon, and it's all to do with the time of night. So in Santa Fe, it's the evening on Tuesday. The moon is still climbing and rising into the sky. And as the moon moves across the sky, it rotates. So the orientation of the moon when it's after moonrise is different to when it's moved across the sky and is starting to move down towards the horizon and is nearing moonset. So as the moon goes from moonrise in Santa Fe across the sky to moonset, and in Stavanger and in the UK, we are heading towards dawn and moonset. The moon has rotated in the sky, meaning that the Earth's shadow appears to be coming from a different angle, but it is the same shadow in the same part of the moon. It's just a different orientation of the moon.
And right up there in the corner, we say up next Jupiter, and we're not lying. We do have Jupiter coming up. Again, another teeny weeny cute planet. I love it. And Jupiter's been looking amazing in the morning sky. I've been taking my dog for a walk and looking up and seeing Jupiter in the morning. And I was asking Graham about that the other day. Why is it there in the morning?
Yeah, so roughly speaking, at the moment, Jupiter is rising around about midnight. Jupiter is heading towards its opposition in December. So just to recap, opposition is when a planet is on the opposite side of Earth to the sun. And it's when you have the planet at its highest in the sky around about midnight, and that's the best time for observing planets. So Jupiter is still a couple of months away from its prime viewing time, but yeah, it's rising in the middle of the night, and it is looking great in the pre-dawn sky, which is what you've been enjoying.
And Jupiter's a little bit closer than Saturn, right?
Right, that's right. Yes. So Jupiter is the first of the outer planets. So yes, it is closer than Saturn. It's also a little bit bigger than Saturn. And of course, the the famous feature with Saturn is its rings. The classic thing to observe with Jupiter is its banding, and we can see that here. We can see these light bands and these dark bands. The light bands are called zones.
Yeah.
The darker bands are called belts, and it's different particles in these bands that are giving them these different tints, and that is another one of the great classic sights of the solar system.
And when you see it in the morning, it's just like a bright little ball of brightness on the sky, and it's very distinguishable even when the sun is starting to rise and the sky is twilight, and it's still quite bright in the sky. So another cute little planet. On timeanddate.live, you can find lots more about the eclipse, about the moon. We also have a great astronomy section. Just go up in the menu and find it there. It's called the Sun, Moon and Earth. And you can find more planet information there. Oh, there was a plane flying across the moon.
Just saw that, yes.
That was so cool. So we will see you back soon.
Okay, well, let's pick it up right there. All right. So I just wanted to ask you a question. Maybe you know the answer to this, John. They were talking about the bands and the belts of Jupiter.
Yes.
Aren't those also at different altitudes? Do you know about that?
I don't really know. It would stand to reason. Well, okay. Some of the major storms on Jupiter have different are at different altitudes. But I'm not knowledgeable enough to tell you if it's higher or lower than average.
But you know who might have that information? EarthSky.org. I bet we have an article on it. So if anybody else really is wondering, like I am, go to EarthSky. We probably have an article that will explain everything you need to know about Jupiter and its bands and its belts.
Most certainly.
John,
Yes,
thanks
sir.
for joining us. How are you?
I've been lurking out there in cyberspace someplace. I'm in right now. I'm under the cloudy skies of the unnamed tropical storm, which came in off the Carolinas yesterday. So we're getting a bunch of much needed rain. So nobody's complaining.
No.
Unfortunately, I can't see the eclipse, but I know it's up there. These things are always up there. So that's good.
Yeah. That's comforting, isn't it?
Yeah,
what's going on?
I've been listening to what some of the people are saying, and what Graham and Ann were saying about the moon, and it chugging across the sky and getting going more into eclipse. So I'd like to say a little bit more about that stuff, Dave.
Please do.
I know you had a number of slides. Well, let me start out by saying what I wanted to do was
Sure.
Well, what you were doing. I wanted to start out with these too, but.
I knew I was going to steal your thunder. I'm so sorry.
I missed the boat. That's all right. Yeah.
You know what? I was prepared this time.
Yeah. That's what all the cool astronomers wear. That stuff.
We do. You should see us out bumbling around in an open field in the middle of the night with all our sunglasses on, trying to find our camper vans and our telescopes. It's really amusing.
Yeah,
I recommend it highly. Anyway,
it just doesn't work sometimes. But
no, it doesn't. We muddle through.
I don't know what was shown already, but perhaps we could go on to another slide.
We can sure do that. All I need to do is switch right over to here. That's all I need to do.
just
sure. It's so simple. It's so simple.
Well, okay. That looks good.
All right. We're getting there.
I think you're getting
My
there.
computer does not like to run. Well, now I can't see anything that Riverside is doing. Okay, so I have the slide up.
There we are.
Which slide would you like? This one?
Probably not. I think Marcy's probably talked about that one already. With the moon being next to Saturn. Mm-hmm. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go.
That's the one right there. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one.
Right.
That's the one you don't want me to talk about. It's just too controversial. And the idea
you're gonna rat out the government.
But I'm going to tell you something about the Earth. It may come as a shock to a lot of people, but the Earth is round.
I'm all ears.
It's a sphere.
No.
It's a
Really?
sphere.
No, I can see the horizon.
It's not flat. It's not a flat disc. The Earth is round like a sphere. The picture of what you see above you, which we have some more that'll describe this a little bit better, is that is the shadow of the Earth. Yeah, let's go to this one. Now, you like saying, for those of you people who like saying that the Earth is flat, this is what it means. When we have a full moon rises in the west. Everybody knows that. There's no controversy there. And the sun sets.
Indisputable.
The moon rises in the east. Big controversy. The moon rises in the east. The sun sets in the west. And on full moon, as the sun sets, the moon rises. So if you have a flat Earth, like a coin, which I guess is the only way to describe it, you have a flat Earth like a coin, the sun will shine down on the edge of that Earth as it sets, and it'll cast the Earth's shadow onto the moon's surface as it rises. And because it's a long, skinny object, a coin, you'll get that long, skinny shadow on the moon. But you know what? We never ever see this. Never. Not once.
Reading along. Never have. I've been
not even once
all my life, and I've never seen.
And you never will. And it also means, I was listening to some of the other people talk, especially Graham and Ann, about this. The moon rises, and it's getting higher in the sky for a lot of people. If I could see the moon tonight, if the clouds were gone, it's where I am. It's at 10:32 right now. The moon's pretty high in the sky.
Yeah.
But if you have a flat Earth, everybody on the planet, everybody, you in California, me in Virginia, Kelly up in Wisconsin, Marcy there down in Wyoming, the people in Norway, the people in the UK, we'd all see the moon at the same time.
Exactly at the same time.
And as you know, we can't.
No.
There are a whole bunch of people who cannot see the moon right now because they're on the other side of the Earth.
Wouldn't that mean that we all had the same sunrise and sunset if the moon was, if the Earth was
does.
flat?
Very observant. That's exactly what it means.
Well,
and
I've got a bunch of people I have to go tell this to now.
Well, we never see this. It's never happened, and you can count on it never ever happening. So
never going to happen, kids.
Never going to happen. Okay,
this is it, guys. Forget it.
Now, have I discussed this slide enough?
I think we have. I don't know.
Okay.
Let's see.
Okay.
Unknown thickness. So we don't know how thick it is.
I don't know.
Is it theoretically possible that it could be a two-dimensional flat Earth that casts no shadow along its?
Ooh. Well, let's say that's true. It would still.
Okay, what if,
the concept number 2 there, though, would still be true.
Oh, right. Yeah, the moon would still come up for everybody and look identical, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And plus, you could always do the obvious. It's just get on a plane and head west.
No kidding, right?
And you'll come back around eventually.
Well, I was told this story earlier. I was enjoying the moon rise one night here next to the Sierra, and it takes a while to get up. These are tall mountains, and so
yes, it does. Yes,
I enjoyed it so much that when the moonrise was over, I started my car up and I drove 1 mile east down the road and enjoyed it again. Because
now we have a wise guy here.
I know, but it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that the moon is in fact moving through the sky. It's not just popping up for everybody everywhere at the same time. In fact, all I had to do was move half a mile or so down the road and I got to see an entirely different moonrise, which is only possible on a sphere.
That's right. And you were saying something earlier today about owning a fast car. I saw that someplace.
Oh,
there
yeah.
You got to have a car like that to do what you're saying.
Exactly. Get up there.
I know we'd be talking about California freeways, and I know how busy they can be. I don't know if you can get that fast.
Not today. I drove up to Fresno today. Don't do that, people. Take my advice. Never drive up to Fresno. We don't get traffic jams usually, but they managed it. They managed to have a traffic jam in Fresno.
It happened.
Congratulations, Fresno.
It's been known to happen. What else we got here?
Yeah. What else do we have going on?
I think I've talked this one to death.
Okay. Well, we are about, I think, 10 minutes from maximum eclipse.
Yes.
checking. So yeah.
Yeah, I have 9 minutes on my computer. Yes.
Okay. So do we have another slide to take a
Yeah.
look at? There we go.
Yeah. Now this what's really happening. Yeah, you have the sun. Well, yeah, let's say you have the Earth in the middle, and the sun's off to one side, and the moon is on the other side. The sun is 93 million miles away, so this is not to scale. The sun would be on this type of scale. The sun would be off about 10 feet over to your right there.
Right.
And then you have the Earth, and then the moon going around the Earth. And for this particular eclipse, what happens is that the Earth is blocking the sunlight, and it's casting its shadow onto the moon. But it's only onto the northern part of the moon because the moon orbits the Earth at a slight angle. So the sunlight doesn't always hit the moon directly, or excuse me, the shadow of the Earth does not always hit the moon directly. In this case, the moon's a little bit below that plane, that Earth sun line, and it only hits the northern part of the moon, and it only hits like what we were saying, the top 8 or 9% of the moon at maximum. So that's what you're going to be seeing in just a few more minutes.
Yeah, just
at maximum.
Minutes here.
And so the southern part of the moon is all brightly lit.
Yeah.
And you have both the supermoon going on and the full moon going on and the eclipse. So it all plays together. It's pretty cool. This type of event doesn't happen every month.
No, it doesn't, because that angle isn't right.
Right. So next month, when the moon comes rounding the corner there, and you get the sun, Earth, moon lineup, the moon could really be even further below that line, and the shadow of the Earth will miss it completely.
Entirely. So let's talk about just
one more.
Go.
The next eclipse. March.
Do I
March
have
14th.
like that?
And that'll be smack in the middle. The moon will be smack in the middle of the Earth's shadow on that occasion. And it happens just after midnight Eastern time on March 14th.
9 p.m. my time. That's
so perfect. For you guys at 9. You don't have to stay up very late to see that one.
Yeah, that's the advantage of living in the West, right? So I do have one question for you, John. There are two different shadows crossing the moon tonight. There's the penumbral and the umbral shadow.
Yes.
Umber is Latin for shadow. So pen means close to. It's the like penultimate. Okay. So why do we have two different kinds of shadow on the moon? Well, what's happening up there?
And I could give you the 10-second answers because the sun has a specific diameter, so light comes from slightly different portions of the sun. But one way of looking at this is on the next sunny day, just go outside and stand in the sunlight and cast your shadow onto a wall, a building wall, for instance. And you'll notice that your head does not form a sharp shadow. It's kind of a fuzzy edge around your body. Well, the part of that shadow, that fuzziness that's furthest away from you, it's the dimmest part of your shadow. On that part, it means that the sun has almost all of it shining past you. And when the closer you get to yourself, it means that the sun now is shining just a little bit beyond your head or your body. So you get this difference in shadow. If you get a pinpoint object shining, such as, people don't do this all the time, such as Venus, the planet Venus is really pretty much a pinpoint, and it's bright enough to cast a shadow.
Yes,
if you do the same thing, you'll see that it's a very sharp image instead of a fuzzy outline of you. So Venus doesn't really have a penumbral image, so to speak. Theoretically,
but you can have your own personal penumbra. So just go out and stand on a sunny day near a wall and have your own personal penumbra. Speaking of which, it is the hour. So let's switch over and share this tab. And hopefully that just went smooth as butter. I did. Wonderful. And so there we go. We are moments away now, I believe. It is 7:39 Pacific time, Pacific Daylight Time, for those of you keeping technical track.
Yeah, you don't have a drum roll there, do you? You don't have a drum roll going on back there.
You know what? Drum roll? Hang on. You know what? I might.
Or maybe a fanfare, a little trumpet there playing something in the background. I don't know.
Something like that. Let me see if I can come up with something like that. Apparently my computer has decided that it's not going to play. Oh, there it goes. No. Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah. Oh, there we go. So you wanted the drum roll? Let's see. There we go. Let's see if I can. That do it? Well, I guess it didn't do it.
Well,
It told me it did it.
unfortunately, it has to do it for another 4 minutes. You don't want a drum roll that long.
Oh, well, no, we don't want a drum roll that long. No, we don't. Although I suppose we could. I don't think we want anything even vaguely like that.
You know, I think it was Kelly.
Okay, what do we?
I think it was Kelly who was talking about using binoculars to go out and,
Right, she was.
and gaze at the moon. You know,
on too.
Dave has the big astronomical binoculars, but I have the
Mhm.
little birding binoculars, and these work fine on the moon because remember that the moon it's the same distance from the sun as we are, and so it can be considered as a distant
Right.
landscape object, 240,000 miles distant instead of 10 miles away. But it still receives the same amount of light. So it's small binoculars will work fine to see the moon. Big ones will work even better, of course. But if you just
Sure.
have access to birding ones, go out and use those. They'll work fine.
Yeah, and wear your sunglasses. Don't forget to wear your sunglasses.
Yeah. Get a
Now,
little
when you're
strange.
looking at the moon and you're looking up at the night sky and it's a bright white moon, it's not really white, is it? If you were standing on the moon, it's not that color at all.
Well,
If you were to look
it's
down.
funny you mentioned that. It could be. I don't know if I should go here because I'm still working on it. Because the moon
then don't.
actually does have a color to it, and they
It
say
does.
it's like it's the same brightness as asphalt. It's not a
Mhm.
shining, gleaming orb up there. It's really like a big chunk of asphalt reflecting the light back. But there's an interesting project that you can try is to go down to your local hardware store and pick up some paint chips that are off-white paint chips. And under full moonlight, hold the paint chips up to a white sheet of paper, maybe print paper, and see which chip matches the color of your print paper. And that chip should be the color of moonlight. It's not easy to
There you
do,
go.
and you
No.
got to have it just right because it's very, very subtle. It's not white. It's kind of a brownish blue or something. I don't know. I can't. Anyway,
Yeah, it is kind of a blue moon-ish thing. Not a blue moon in that sense, but a bluish.
no,
And
that's
if
not a blue moon.
There are some photographs. Yeah, we're not going into that.
No,
tonight.
that's for another month's moon. We can talk
Although,
about
if you would like to hear about the blue moon, we did an excellent video that I invite you to like this video, subscribe, visit earthsky.org, and see about our blue moon coverage because we had a lot of fun with that one too. So
one
we
more
are
minute. One more
coming
minute.
up. We're about a minute. One more minute. If I had a decent drum roll, I'd break it out right now, but I don't. So I've got a pretty good, rim shot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there it is. There it is, folks. We are just moments away. Okay, their clock, their UTC is showing off from they are time and date, so I assume they got it right.
Yeah, we're there.
Yeah, we are here. I show 44 minutes past the hour wherever you on this planet, except if you're in one of those weird half zones.
Well, this is a good opportunity to actually look at the moon right now because you can see the shadow on the northern part of it. And you can see that the shadow, it's not a straight shadow across or anything. It's a round circle. It's a circle.
It is.
And if
Why is that?
you
Why is
can
it a
kind of
circle?
trace that around out in space and see how big that shadow really is. It works out to be about 3 or 4 moon diameters across the diameter of the shadow.
Oh,
So it's just
that
north
is
of the moon.
interesting.
And that was one technique or one so-called proof that the ancient Greeks used to say that the Earth was round, because there's a shadow on the moon.
Yeah.
It's a round shadow. So they're pretty clever.
Plus the fact that the shadow lengths are different. Okay. Yeah, this is really something else. It is beautiful to watch this. I could just stare at the moon. It doesn't have to have anything going on up there at all. I could just, go out and get my binocs or even my telescope. If you have a telescope with, and you have skies that cooperate for a good clear view, it is almost like you're flying over the surface when you've got a high magnification on and you're looking at the individual valleys and walls. There are so many features to see on the moon. There are walls and pits, shadows that appear, and you can see spikes that are of sunlight coming into the low angle through gaps in the crater edges. It's just, like I said the last time we talked about the moon, it's a different show every night of the month. It's, the moon is in constant. And so that means that when you look at it with magnification, or even with your naked eye, your unaided eye, rather, you're going to see something different. You're going to see different features more pronounced because of their shadow and the angle of the light as it comes in. So it's pretty amazing.
You mentioned about going out and looking at it with a telescope, and I was talking about binoculars. Well, both these objects magnify the image quite a bit, and it's
right.
The moon's I think tonight it's about 220,000 miles away. Well, if you had a pair of 10 power binoculars, that's like seeing the moon from only 22,000 miles away. It moves you in 10 times close. If you have a telescope that's 100 power, it's like seeing the moon if you were 2,000 miles above its surface. So you can see a lot more because you seem to.
Sure?
The apparent distance is shrunk quite a bit. That's kind of space travel for free in a way.
It really is, and a lot of people, I catch people at the scope like that. Here, take a look at this, and I have a Newtonian, which means you have to urge the scope along. It's not powered, so it doesn't just follow it. So you get to see as the moon is moving through the sky, the telescope isn't tracking it automatically. So it looks as though you're flying over the surface when you have that really, really nice close view, that high magnification. I'm looking up to see that from my perspective, at least, the moon is now 9% above the horizon at an azimuth of 100 degrees, which means it's over in the east-ish, but it is 99.2% illuminated for everybody on the planet right now, if it weren't in eclipse. And it is at a distance of 357,260 kilometers as of the current moment. Let's see, what else have we got here? The next phases of the moon. We're going to have our new moon. Our new moon will be October 2nd. September 24th will be the last quarter of this one. October 10th will be the first quarter of that. And then we've got the closest of supermoons coming up in mid-October on the 17th. So get out and take a look at those, guys. Get out and have a great time. And we are past the peak now. We are past the peak, and it's just going to recede from here on. What do we expect to see now, John? What's going to happen next in our view?
It's just like filming this and playing the film backwards now.
That's exactly right.
The moon has two motions in the sky. What we see every night is it rising in the east and setting in the west. So it rises and goes across the sky and sets in the west. But the moon in its orbit around the Earth is actually moving from west to east. So tomorrow night, it'll take a little bit longer before the moon rises because it will have moved from west to east slightly. And it takes another 50 minutes or so for the moon to catch, or for the Earth's rotation to catch up to the moon and cause it to rise.
Right.
We could have a whole discussion here on the harvest moon, which is plays well into this, but I don't know if anyone's prepared to hear about that right now.
Sure. Oh, we want to hear about it. We talked about the harvest and the hunter moon earlier, but
yeah, there you go.
We always want to hear.
There you go. You have the harvest moon having this phenomena of the moonrise being about the same time every night, or not quite as much time between moonrises, but the same phenomena, almost the same phenomena, happens in October as well. So if you miss out the September's harvest moon, the October's hunter's moon has a very similar effect in the sky.
And that's because of the acute angle of the ecliptic with comparison to the horizon, correct?
Yes.
And that's what Marcy was explaining to us earlier. And I don't want to screw it up. So anyway, go back. If I wasn't clear, go back and listen to what Marcy had when we're done here, and she'll explain it all to you. She is the voice of our night sky here. All right, John, what else you got going for us tonight? Anything else you wanted to add? Oh, you know what? Before you do that, our host and hostess are back. And
Excellent.
so let's hear what they have.
Up there in the corner of what the eclipse part looks like on the moon, and we can see the dark inner umbral shadow there. It looks interesting when it's so close up, but we can really see the edge of the shadow. And what's going on here, Graham? And if someone was standing there on the moon like an astronaut looking, what would it look like from that angle?
Question.
Yeah, well, as you say, it is great how we can see the shift from that dark inner shadow to that lighter outer shadow in that zoomed in view there. Yeah, so your question, Anna, if an astronaut was standing in that part of the moon, if they were standing in the lighter part, the part covered by the lighter outer part of Earth's shadow, if they looked up into their sky, they would see a partial solar eclipse. The Earth would be covering part of the sun, but not all of the sun. If, however, we had an astronaut in that darker part of the moon, that little tiny fraction that is covered by the darker inner part of Earth's shadow, if they looked up, they would see a total solar eclipse. The Earth would be covering all of the moon. Now, we can see that it doesn't go completely dark there. That's because when this astronaut looked up into the sky, they would see the Earth blocking the sun, but around the edge of the Earth, they would see the Earth's atmosphere lit up and shining red in the sky. And it would give them and their surroundings this sort of reddish tint. Now, when we have a total lunar eclipse, it's this reddish tint that we see across the whole of the moon's disk. That gives us this famous blood moon, where the whole of the full moon turns to this sort of reddish, brownish color. Now, tonight, it's not a total lunar eclipse. It is just a small partial lunar eclipse. The only part of the moon that is turning red is just this very small fraction, 3.5% on this edge of the moon. It doesn't really look red to us here because, well, the rest of the moon is still so bright and silvery. But yeah, an astronaut standing there in that part of the moon would be seeing a reddish tint to their surroundings.
Okay. And these images, they're coming from Stefan Thorsten and Adalbert Michalik, and we've mentioned them quite a few times here on our feed. And just, only a few hours ago, it feels like a lifetime ago, and it was yesterday, they were poring over weather reports and figuring out where to go, and they ended up pretty much down the road, so that we pretty excited about that. And they've been bringing us these beautiful planet images and moon images, including this zoomed in view here. That's the same telescope we've been using for the planets, Graham. And we're going to talk to Stefan now. We're getting him on. There he is. Looks a bit cold.
He does. And wow, hi, Stefan. Well, here you are, just down the road from us in Stavanger. In recent years, you've taken the mobile observatory to Australia, to Africa, to North America, South America, the Mediterranean, all over the globe. But today, this is a kind of a home eclipse for you. How did you decide on this location?
Hello, Graham and Anna. Well, we have, as you said, looked at weather forecasts since they started being available. And they changed a lot. So we've seen sometimes that it might be a good chance we can actually do it from Stavanger. And then next day it looked like, no, we're not doing it from Stavanger. And we're going to go into UK or to Poland or to some other place instead. But the last few days, it's kind of been more promising. And it's also easier logistics, and you can bring more and bigger equipment if you can drive somewhere. So it's kind of it's nice if you can actually just drive somewhere nearby, or even be in the office to do this. That makes life much easier.
And it's 4:47 local time at the moment, so it's turning into morning, and you do look a bit cold. How can you describe where you are and how you're set up?
We drove at 2 hours south of Stavanger, a bit further than we originally expected to do. But we are like 50 meters from the coastline and 30 meters from a lighthouse in Lista, which is a small place a bit between Stavanger and Kristiansand. And it's normally a place which is known for very windy weather, and windy weather is not a great thing for telescopes because the images will shake more. But it's been a really calm, nice evening, and the sky has been really bright because of the moonrise. So we kind of walk in the moonlight basically with a bit of additional help then, but still it's very nice.
Yeah. And this is we've been really enjoying that zoomed in view of the eclipsed part of the moon you're sending through there. As we look at it in a telescope view, we can kind of see that, we've got this nice silvery area and then this sort of darkish area. How is that actually looking with the naked eye?
With the naked eye, it's pitch black. You see nothing really, because the rest of the moon is still so bright that the dark part is just black. And the rest of the moon also has a gradient in a way from the brightest in the lower left area to the dark area where the partial eclipse is happening.
Yeah, right. And you mentioned about the lighthouse, and I know there was a little bit of concern about the lighthouse, but that hasn't been affecting you at all.
Now, we're a bit afraid that the light, if there was a bit of moisture in the air, it might actually light up, so we will kind of get flashes in our images, but it hasn't been a problem at all. We are kind of probably under the lighthouse so it shines higher than and then the light doesn't reach that far to actually be a problem for us. So it's been nice, but we had some concern about the lighthouse, because we never tried doing this next to a lighthouse before. So, but that's definitely recommended. It's very nice seeing that kind of swipe of the light beam over us.
It's always.
I can try to point the camera. I can try to point the other camera too, so you can watch what it looks like later.
Oh, awesome! Yeah. Well, he's already planning on the spot here. This is the nature of eclipses. It's always fun talking to Stefan and figuring out where he is and what he's going to do, because it changes up until the last minute, as we just saw. We're pretty much at max eclipse. We're kind of moving towards
they're a bit behind
end of partial, but we still have at least a little bit of half an hour left.
Well, we've got like 25 minutes still to go in partial.
Yeah. So we can still enjoy this dark part of the moon. And Stefan, we hope when you're not too cold, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And now you get to point the camera at Mars.
Right.
Yes, I will do that too.
Awesome, Stefan. Thank you so much. And bye-bye. We will.
I guess they'll be back. And there's the live view. It turns out that somehow we ended up a bit behind the times. Beautiful, beautiful moon over Santa Fe, New Mexico, here in the U.S. of A. Well, folks, looking at the old clock on the wall, I see it is, in fact, the top of the hour. Let's see what we got coming up here. We were at maximum, so we've got about 15 minutes left for the partial eclipse ends. There's not, it's basically what you're going to see from here on out. Let me just mute this so you can hear me better. There we go. That's better. Lovely music, but I need to be heard. Anyway, so what you're going to see from here on out, as John said, is like we're just running the film backward through the projector now, and it's just going to undo what it did. So is there anything else you think we need to add here, John? Anything we need to say?
Just one more thing.
you're
I want to
muted.
reiterate that the next eclipse, March 14th, just after midnight, it'll be total. So it'll be a late night for some people, but the West Coast people in the U.S. will be able to see it pretty early in the evening. For me, I'll have to stay up late. But these things are always interesting. Each eclipse, if you look at the March eclipse, you'll notice that each eclipse is a little different. The colorations you see, the darknesses you see, a little bit different each time. So expect something a little different.
And the difference is coming from the Earth's atmosphere as the light passes through it, or the atmosphere where you are. So it depends on whether it's the light being colored as it passes the Earth and then getting to the moon, or it could be the Earth shine, or rather the moonlight reflecting off of the moon back through the atmosphere. And if you've got something going on locally, it could turn it red or orange or any number of nifty colors. In fact, I think if you go and search through the EarthSky.org image files, or we have our EarthSky community photograph page, which I invite you to, if you've got a good picture, especially tonight's moon, go on there and share it with us, and we'll show the entire world what you saw. But anyway, we have some interesting moons that are in all different colors: purples, reds, blues, greens, you name it. The moon can just about be any color in the catalog, right, John?
You bet. You bet.
You bet. Yeah, it really can be. Okay, so we have just a few minutes left as the moon will be slipping. So why don't we just step out of the way and let it do that for a while? Oh, what do we got here? It's time for an ad. I said so, and they said it's ad time. They've got bills to pay. And so do we. Which is why you guys should go to earthsky.org and buy yourself a nifty EarthSky t-shirt, or just enjoy the stuff. The content is top notch. It's all available. Doesn't cost a thing, and changes every day of the week. It's good stuff. Really is. In fact, almost all of the staff people at EarthSky are longtime readers who decided that's what we wanted to do. So let's see if I think we've still got Kelly. Maybe Kelly can come on in and chat with us a little bit. Let's see if Kelly's ready to talk. Hopefully we won't end up with Kelly's empty living room. Hi, Kelly. Welcome back.
Hey, I'm still here.
Hey, how's the show going? How's the live show? How's it? I guess the only one who can step outside and see it.
Yeah, you need to get a look, I guess, if you haven't gotten to see it yet.
I haven't. You know what? Why don't I do that? You guys hold down the fort for me, and I'll be right back, okay?
Sure, I'll tell some stories.
Hey, there you go. Tell a good story.
All right.
All right.
While Dave is out,
right
I'm going to give you some. I have some quick fun stories that we were talking about at EarthSky that relate to the moon. Okay, one of the things that I think is super cool is right now there's only one moon up there, but on September 29th, there will be two moons up there. That's because there's a mini moon. We're going to get a mini moon, a little asteroid that Earth's going to capture in its gravity. And we're not going to have it for very long. So from September 29th till November 25th, we're going to have this little mini moon. It's only like 33 feet. So, I mean, it's let's say 3 stories. So it's not tiny, but compared to the moon, yeah, it's tiny. But it's just going to get sucked in by Earth's gravity as it passes by for a short period of time. And then the moon, this mini moon will then be drawn away again by the sun and go back to what we call a heliocentric orbit. So just for a little while, it's going to become a moon. And this has happened before. In fact, just sometime around 2007, I think, we had a mini moon for like a year. So it happens ever so often. You get these little asteroids that get sucked in, but eventually they do get pulled back by the sun to orbit around the sun. So that's one of the cool things that we got going on. Another thing I was just going to talk about, how the moon was formed. Most astronomers think it was formed when something that was like a Mars-sized planet in the very beginning of our solar system, and they named it Theia, had a glancing blow off of Earth. And then from there, it kind of varies what they say happened. There's a couple of different theories, and you can come to EarthSky.org to learn more about, are there blobs of Theia in Earth's core? I don't know. That's one of the theories. Anyway, so that's how the moon formed from Theia. And then what we see all these craters, and the dark part, that's what we call mare, but these are like lava flows, ancient lava flows. So there were once volcanoes on the moon. And some recent research says that those volcanoes, they actually were erupting still while the dinosaurs lived, which is so cool. And it makes me super jealous, because how cool would it be to look up at the sky and see volcanoes erupting on the moon? Like, I would like to see that. If I could travel back in time, I think that would be super fun. And recently I was in Colorado. This is a story on our YouTube channel. I took this hike up to see dinosaur tracks, which was really neat. I had never seen dinosaur tracks before. It was a really hard hike to get up there. It's like 2 miles basically straight up a mountain. But once we got up there, we had these tracks all to ourselves, and they're really cool. They make this loop shape. So it looks like the dinosaur was walking along, and in my imagination, it looked up and it saw perhaps a volcano erupting on the moon, and thought, nope, not today, and turned and walked the other direction. Who knows why it really did that, but this is one of the stories that I tell myself in my head. So anyway, those are 2 fun stories. You can learn more about these things at our website and at our YouTube channel, which is where you are right now. So those are my fun facts that I had to share before we say goodnight to the moon. John, do you have anything extra to share?
Well, this moon or this eclipse on the moon is only 8 or 9% being covered by the shadow. The one I keep coming back to, the one coming up in March, which will be completely total. One thing I like about totality in a lunar eclipse is that the stars come out. You have a full moon, nice bright full moon, wipes out all the stars in the sky. The moon is a natural light polluter in a way. We like it, but it obliterates all the stars. But as soon as it goes total, gets totally eclipsed by the Earth's shadow, all the stars come back out. And so there you have this dull, dark, reddish glow for the moon, but all around it, you see stars again. And then an hour later, when the eclipse is ending, pop, 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 out they go again. And you got your nice, bright moonlight again, wiping out all the stars. So it lets you know that the stars are really up there. It's just that the old dang moon is just wiping stuff out. But I think that's pretty cool. I like that aspect of it.
It sure gives you
What's that?
That is very cool, John.
Oh,
it gives you a really good idea of what various magnitudes of stars look like
Yeah.
You know, you get to see, oh, okay, so if you know your magnitudes, like you know that is I believe Sirius is that magnitude 0? Am I getting that one right? And so
Yeah,
it
yeah, it's
proceeds
minus
up.
1,
Let's see, the
1.4.
brighter it is, the lesser the number.
Mhm.
There you go, 1.4. So it is the brightest star as seen from Earth. And what's the limit on human vision generally for magnitude of a star?
For me, about
Unaided.
5, but I think for
Do you have any idea?
a young guy or a young woman
Yeah,
who is, they can see quite a bit more, a 6.5 even, magnitude 6.5. I know we're talking about subjects which are a lot of people don't understand what we mean by magnitude, but each difference in magnitude
that's true.
is a
Explain
difference
that.
of 2.5 times brightness, brighter or dimmer. And that's an historical reason why it's like that. But so 6 magnitudes
Right.
is 6 times 2.5 times 2. Keep doing 2.5 times 2.5 6 times, and it'll be about 250 times dimmer. So 6 magnitudes is pretty dim. But people can see it. Young people can see it. At my age, no, not anymore. Unfortunately.
It's pretty dim. It looks like our time and date hosts are back, so let's listen in.
From the moon's surface here. So
We are about
yeah,
5 minutes away from the end of the
coming towards an end.
partial.
We still have the penumbral shadow also retracting across the moon after that until the penumbral ends at 04:47 UTC, but it's just a slightly dimmer moon situation going on there. But we also have a very important message from our local plane nerd here at Time and Date HQ. Stop it. So we did see a plane cross the moon surface earlier in the show, and I can report that that's the Austrian Airlines Airbus A321-211 Reykjavik to Vienna flight. So there you go. You can rewind the live feed when we're done and have a look at that plane flying from Reykjavik to Vienna. So that's a lot of fun.
An important update.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And as well as planes, we have also been catching some planets in the live stream tonight. We do have 3 planets in the night sky at the moment. We have Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars. Right now, our streaming partner in Darlington in the UK, Neil Sanders from Go Stargazing. He's hoping to bring us another view of Jupiter tonight. Neil is an old friend of Time and Date. He runs the Go Stargazing organization in the UK. This really is just a wonderful organization for amateur and professional astronomers, for instrument scientists, for dark sky consultants, educational providers. Neil really does do an amazing job of bringing together the astronomy and educational communities in the UK. Go Stargazing does a fantastic job at promoting public interest in astronomy in the UK. Thank you, Neil, for the tremendous
images of the moon there.
Yeah, some beautiful moon images there from Darlington. So thank you so much for that. In the top right of the screen, we have our 3rd planet that we're featuring tonight. We've had a look at Saturn and Jupiter. And in the top right corner now, we have
tiny
Mars, which is rising in the middle of the night at the moment. It's rising a little bit after Jupiter. We've been talking about planets being at opposition. This is kind of the best time to see planets. Mars.
Well, you know, it is the best time to see planets when they're at opposition. And actually, it appears that opposition is coming to a close now for the moon. It is 8:15, and technically, which is of course the best way to be right, our eclipse is coming to an end in the next few seconds. So what do you think? Should we leave the stream up for everybody who's watching in case you guys want to follow along? And I think Kelly and John and we need to get some rest. We have to get up and do this all again tomorrow. See, look, John is suffering. You can see it in his eye. Anyway, we will be back for what we've got. Our sun stream is coming up on Friday. Check the schedule. Look on the live tab. Next week we will have Rob Lillis in to talk about the Escapade mission, which is a discount mission to Mars. They're going to study Mars' hybrid magnetosphere. And then the week after that, we'll be talking to Eric Berger, who is a Pulitzer Prize nominated journalist who has a new book out about SpaceX, the development of SpaceX, and it's a great read. I'm about 2/3 of the way through it. Highly recommend it. So Eric will be here, not this Monday, but the Monday after. This Monday, Rob Lillis from UC Berkeley and the Escapade mission to Mars. And we've got lots of stuff planned for you. So subscribe, like, and we're going to see you guys later. Kelly, John, thanks for joining us.